Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Here we go again.
Yeah, so Texas power outages are now below 500,000. Water woes are persisting, and so is the misery index. We've seen so many videos given to us from family members and friends of, their own circumstance and, just icicles hanging from chandeliers.
Right. Well, you remember how the plague upon the land started? It was like a slow train crash, and this is something different but similar in the sense there's been a big blow here, and now we're watching the aftermath, and people are suffering.
They are. They most definitely are, and it's not just in Texas. It's all over, really. I mean, this cold wave is just intense. It's engulfed so much of the nation, and it's just came on so suddenly and so intensely. More intense than anything we've ever seen. It most definitely caught people off guard.
It's so eye-opening.
And really, all day today, all we have been doing has been meditation, Qigong, and mantras since this morning when we got up. We didn't really start working per se, which is unusual for us, but we're just connecting, and we've gotten a lot of information, and people need to really, to use a biblical text, I should say, gird your loins.
Absolutely. Be ready, get prepared. This was bad enough, but it seems like moving forward, this is only one thing that is in their arsenal of disruption.
So if we look at this from a grand solar minimum perspective, and everything that's happening, the swings are getting wilder in both directions. So what the guides had said was that there will more than likely be the extreme opposite event of this occurring over basically the same area again in the summer. So if we can imagine now, we go from power outages in sub-freezing temperatures and, people not having cell service, not having water, pipes breaking and everything. Now imagine in the summer, if you have record heat waves and some areas are well over 100, maybe over 110, and there's no AC.
I know, and all of this stuff is, people aren't really prepared for it. At least they don't think that they're prepared for it. Well, actually, how can you prepare for it? I didn't see this coming. I saw other things, but I didn't see this particular thing.
But you did see Texas was going to get hit.
I did definitely see that, and I just thought it would be in a different way.
Yeah, because we had several trips planned for Texas, and Cindy kept getting from the guides that Texas is going to get hit. She didn't see exactly how, and we've been on record. She's been on record saying this going back to, like September and August, that she was feeling that something was going to happen with Texas.
Mm-hmm. Something deep inside, and here we have it, and it appears to be something of a natural type of thing.
And many people have lost their lives to carbon monoxide just trying to stay warm by running their car in the garage. And again, we've reiterated that's not a good idea. I understand when you get desperate. We had talked about tents inside the house, and I had actually saw a video go up from a guy in Alaska sharing that he does a tent within a tent, and then he's just got a tiny little burner, and you could get them at Amazon, because even just a little heat coming off can make a difference when you're encased in multiple layers. So like a tent within the house, even if the house is getting down to zero, and everybody huddling together, bringing the dogs in, the cats in, etc.
Yep, as long as you're doing this stuff with care, it can be very effective.
And, when we got to Arizona, God, that was 2 years ago already, right? Yeah. And we were camping out, and we were in Cochise County. We were around, what's that? Tombstone. And it was like 100 degrees during the day. But you know what? When you're in the shade, it wasn't bad, especially if you had a little bit of breeze. Because even though right now it might be all icy and snowed in, start thinking about what's going to happen in the summer if there's no power where you are. And I'll tell you, one place I would not want to be in the summer when the power goes out is Phoenix.
Oh gosh, I know it's so hot, but I've also heard Texas can get pretty warm too.
Oh, it sure could. It sure could. Either way, it can become like an oven, just one with humidity and one without that much humidity. So when we see the nation, I want to ask you guys to send out your prayers, send out your intention, visualize the entire nation covered in a dome of protective light. We could first visualize it as a crystalline light that's going to bring any energy needed to any particular area. Crystalline, that pure whitest of white lights, contains all lights, contains the whole spectrum. So it will bring what's needed anywhere. So hold that visualization of the entire country being encapsulated in crystalline white light. And then we're going to change it to a golden light, which is a very, very high vibrational energy. The golden light will disrupt the dark forces from being able to do things that perhaps are being done, negative intentions, etc., etc., etc. Our intention is huge. It's so powerful. And, of course, there are those that want to guard that as a secret. But we have tremendous power, especially when we pray together. And when we send our focus together. So let's see the country healing. Let's see people getting back their power, getting back their water, their electricity, getting back their ability to live their lives in a self-sufficient manner. And then let's see a beautiful indigo violet color coming down. And again, that's a very high vibrational frequency that is actually distasteful for negative entities. And see the whole nation protected. And if you guys are so inclined, you could call on the archangels. If you are of that inclination, Judeo-Christian tradition, they are very real energies, very, very powerful energies. As we've talked about in other videos, they're about as high up in this matrix as you can get.
Yeah, as far as being able to call on their energy and have it be used for something to our benefit. And I think this is a beautiful lesson in understanding and knowing that this is how we can work together. And this is what the forces do not want us to realize, is how important our intention and our visualization really is.
Yes, and I'm well aware that there are some out there that are afraid that the archangels themselves are evil or part of the matrix, because if you look at it, the names end in L. Again, so there are those out there that teach that again, they're part of the matrix, and thus they can be dark as well as light. They definitely have a protective side. They definitely do come. When you ask and call on them, they come.
Yes, they're kind of like no nonsense.
Now, we view and have seen them as the counterpart to the archons, the archonic force, which the only thing above that archonic force is this AI dragon type thing that Cindy has envisioned.
Yeah, it's an AI dragon, but it's like organic, but then the AI is in with it, and that's like at the top of the pyramid.
So we can use the power of the archangels, their ability to control the elements, because they are representative of the four elements. So when we call on Raphael, for the element air, then we could call on Gabriel, and that would be water, and Michael is fire, and Uriel is earth. And we ask them to guard the four corners of the earth, so to speak, and to protect all the life on earth, protect the planet, protect all of us, and stop the schemes and plans of the darkness that's out there, because there is that archonic negative force out there, that AI dragon. You could call it Satan, or whatever you want to call it. Doesn't really matter. It's just a label. It's using our intention to ask, because you have to ask before you receive help. Without asking for help, you won't get help. So we have to ask for help. So, calling on the power of the four archangels to protect the people, to protect this dome of energy that we are envisioning covering the earth from coast to coast, and covering Hawaii and Alaska as well, covering it in a protective dome of energies so that no dark manipulation of any kind can occur.
Very, very important. And see your situation getting better. Feel your situation getting better. Put yourself in a place of abundance and gratitude. And this information, this vibration opens doors for us.
And there is power in vibrating words, as when we do the Sanskrit mantras, we vibrate them. So instead of just saying Raphael, you could vibrate it and just hold on to it, like Raphael, and feel the vibration going through your body. And you could actually end up feeling it turning on the chakras and that tingling coming through your body.
I know, just listening to you do that sent the whole stuff through my whole head.
So we could envision, like, to the east of the country, Raphael, to the west, Gabriel, to the south, Michael, and to the north, Uriel. And just in turn, vibrate their names. And there's actually a ritual which we have done before and talked about. It's called the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram, which I've used to dispel dark energies for decades. And it works. It really works. I mean, it's cleared so many places, so many houses and businesses in the Carolinas and Georgia as well. When I was working with, I should say, we didn't get paid. We did everything just because we wanted to help people for a paranormal research group. So we could visualize Raphael standing there in the ocean in front of us and calling on him. Raphael before us, behind us, Gabriel, to our right down in the Gulf, Michael, and then up above us in Canada, Uriel, and then just see energy connecting each one of the four archangels above and below. So it goes down into the earth, into the mantle, even protecting us up above into the atmosphere, protecting us and sealing us. And we can do this for other countries. You could do it for your own country, wherever you are around the globe, as I know about 75% of the people listening are in the U.S. And so we're just bringing this up to try to bring in some positive healing, helping energy, because we can use a little help here.
Most definitely. And it's really important to note that the current system that we're in does need to change, which means something has to make the old system crumble. But what I don't like to see is I don't like people getting unnecessarily hurt and injured and traumatized and tortured. That's just so not necessary.
And, I've recognized the archangels as a force that can be very benevolent and helpful, but I also have no problem calling in Kuan Yin, Buddha, Yeshua, you name it. There's so many other benevolent beings out there that are not working against each other. That's the dark side's mentality. They're working with each other, and they're trying to help us, but at the same time, they want us to have our free will.
Right. They definitely want that, and it is kind of strange how they do have us all pitted against each other and our belief system, and no, my belief system's better than your belief systems. But if you go up a bit higher, like Mike said, they'll help each other. If one doesn't have the ability to do this or that, it will find another being that will, and all we have to do is ask.
Exactly. So, we were talking about this, and, this is an unusual ocean anomaly being detected in the Gulf Stream, not seen in at least 150 years, bearing importance as we face the next weather seasons. This is that day after tomorrow scenario. And I just pulled this up because we had a conversation with David at DAP 2030 earlier in the day. And I had mentioned that to him, and he said, funny you should mention that, because there's a good article over here at Severe Weather EU just talking about that very same thing. It might be Texas in the central part of the country today, but very well could be incredibly cold in the Northeast and Canada and over in Europe, to the point of, people might have to think about abandoning the areas in time. If this shuts down, this is massive. So, the Gulf Stream is a strong ocean current that brings warmer water up from the Gulf of Mexico into the Atlantic Ocean, extends all the way up the eastern coast of the U.S., where it starts to turn towards northwest Europe. And you can see how it flows. Well, this, if it didn't exist, you would be looking at Siberian conditions in the British Isles, Iceland, Scandinavia, even in Germany and in France as well. I mean, it would be like being in Siberia and get used to, 20, 30, 40 below on a regular basis. And unfortunately, what we're seeing occur is pointing in that direction. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to happen this year, next year, maybe not for 5, maybe not for 10. But what we're getting is it's most definitely progressing.
Right. So, I mean, learning to do these things like shielding and lessening disastrous things, I think, is really going to be very helpful moving forward for anybody and everybody, no matter who you are, no matter where you're at, you can help.
So, they're looking at the anomalies, and in the oceans, the most commonly used is, of course, the temperature anomaly. The image below shows the anomaly analysis in the North Atlantic, where the Gulf Stream region really stands out. We can see the stream is warmer than normal, with some parts even 6 to 8 degrees above normal. And that is a significant anomaly. The water temperature 6 to 8 degrees above normal can provide so much more available energy for weather systems to use in the region. The actual temperatures are between 14 and 18 degrees Celsius, closest to the northeast coast of the United States. That can come a significant source of warmer air mass, can go up against a freezing Arctic air mass from the north or northwest. And this is a common recipe for strong nor'easter storms in the northeast United States, where the Gulf Stream provides a lot of energy for the storm. Strong anomalies in the Gulf Stream were already observed past few months. The image below shows the monthly sea surface temperature anomalies in December 2020. Now, the Gulf Stream area really stands out. You can also see the cold La Nina in the Pacific. In January 2021, the anomaly got even stronger, spreading over a larger area with an even stronger deviation from the long-term average. But the anomaly is also reaching down with depth. Below we have 2 images which show the temperature anomaly at 100 meters and 500 meters depth. And we see that the warmer Gulf Stream area is reaching down with depth. But as you'll now see, there's perhaps a higher purpose to all this, as the Gulf Stream is actually a smaller part of something bigger. So the larger system in which the Gulf Stream flows is the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, or AMOC. Isn't that the same abbreviation for the Rosicrucians? Something like that. Yeah, the AMOC is a large system of ocean currents, like a conveyor belt, driven by differences in temperature and salt content, which affects its density. The Gulf Stream is just a surface part of the AMOC in North Atlantic. The image below from the UK Met Office shows the entire global ocean circulation. It's also known as the global conveyor belt. And so you can see how this flows from cold to hot. As warm water flows northward, it cools and some evaporation occurs, which increases the amount of salt in the water. Low temperature and a high salt content make the water denser and heavier, so the dense water will sink into the ocean. The image below shows the ocean surface salinity, or the amount of salt in the water. Higher the number, the saltier the water. Above 35, we have salty waters. So as the water cools, it sinks in the far North Atlantic. The cold, dense water slowly flows out southwards several kilometers below the ocean surface, eventually gets pulled back to the surface and warms in a process called upwelling, and the circulation is complete. The reason why this is important is that the AMOC is such an integral part of the weather and climate in the Northern Hemisphere. It imports a lot of warmer waters and energy towards the north. The image below focuses on the North Atlantic part of the AMOC. There's always a fear that the AMOC might shut down at some point, making the movie The Day After Tomorrow a reality. And that famous movie, the AMOC has shut down, initiating a new ice age. Though the reality is somewhat different, we look at the state of the AMOC, which shows the circulation is indeed weakening. The image below shows the North Atlantic Ocean divided into two main areas. At the coast of the United States is the warm Gulf Stream area, and the blue is where the Gulf Stream releases its heat and sinks down into the depths, as you can see there. So the graphs on the left show temperature progression over time. The Gulf Stream area is warming, while the North Atlantic is actually cooling over time. The relative difference between these two areas is considered as an estimate of the strength of the AMOC. We produced a graph which shows the relative difference between these two areas. We can see that since at least the 1900s, there was a slow but consistent downward trend. Especially in the past 40 years, we have seen a stronger negative difference in these two areas, indicating a likely further weakening of the AMOC. Data basis for this graph comes up from NOAA's ERSSTV5 dataset. It's a combination of observations and reconstructions, taking all the available data and modern techniques to reconstruct the sea surface temperature back to 1854. The data is not 100% accurate that far back, but is proven to work very well for modern periods, giving confidence also for historical ages. Now the next graphic is even more interesting as it shows two images. On the left we have a computer model simulation of what would happen if the AMOC would weaken, and on the right we have the actual analysis of the past century, which shows the exact same scenario. This strongly supports the idea that the AMOC is indeed losing strength. And the temperature signature of the warm Gulf Stream area and the cold North Atlantic is one of the strongest indicators of the AMOC weakening. There are also direct observations being made with instruments which objectively confirm that the North Atlantic circulation is indeed on the decline. And we can see the signature in the long-term temperature trend of the world. Though most areas are slowly warming, North Atlantic remains an area that defies all warming and is actually slowly cooling. Compared to the Gulf Stream area, which is warming, this is a direct indication of the weakening ocean circulation. And the reason why is more than one. The most often mentioned and most probable is the induction of fresh water into the North Atlantic from sea ice melt in Greenland and the Arctic. And so this is the gyre that we've talked about before, because what happens is that flushes out, disrupts it, and then it is going to get really cold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. Things are going to change. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
And you could see, here's looking at the surface air temperature anomaly, and you could see just how cold it will get. And you can see that's dipping all the way down into Texas. More than Texas, really. It's going down into Mexico. And there are pockets that actually stay warmer, and we have talked about the long-term prognosis, and there are many that believe that ultimately you're going to have to be between the two tropics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
So we're in challenging times, guys. It's not going to necessarily happen overnight like the day after tomorrow with that massive vortexes, unless there's some other amplification going on, but it's another one that's in process, and we could see it happening.
No, we can, and it's kind of scary. It's very scary for a lot of people who just aren't really ready, or they're not privy to it, or they're not awake, or they're just now awakening. It's kind of traumatizing just to learn this stuff.
It is, and here we see Libya sees snow, first time in 15 years. Rare flakes also hit Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, Israel, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia, and the sun hits a milestone of 2 spotless weeks. So yeah, it's pretty obvious that things are getting more extreme. The cold, in my mind, is scarier than the heat. If we were constantly expanding and getting warmer, sure, we'd have sea rises, inclines. The sea level would rise, and that would pose a problem for everybody along the coastlines. Conversely, if we do end up going into another ice age, mini ice age, then, the coastlines expand and, the sea level will decline. There's a lot of people worried about when, the pole shift happens, when, the geomagnetic pole reversal happens. Personally, I think that's a ways out. And that's what we've gotten from the guides. That's not the most challenging things for this time. That might be a long ways out. It might be out of many people's life. and then what happens with the crustal displacement and all. What we're facing right now, as we've been saying, is number one, the most troubling things going on have been geopolitical, as well as the possibility of war. The fact that the governments of the world, don't seem to be into protecting the citizens, creating ample food, building greenhouses. So, all these other things that we could be doing to prepare for any sort of weird anomalies weather-wise. Instead, they still just keep spending more on military expenditures, as well as a lot of other things that just don't make sense. And I think it was Christian, Ice Age Farmer, yesterday that was talking about comparing the amount of money sent abroad to help other countries with different things compared to solidifying the grids here. It's just crazy. It's just insane what we see going on. How do people not speak up more? I mean, we're speaking up. We're on the, we have a big X on our heads, because we're speaking up about all this. There's videos here as well talking about the snow. So, I'm not worried about the pole shift now. I'm more concerned about growing food, because there's going to be a food shortage. It's developing right now. By the end of the year, it's going to be so obvious and so prevalent in so many places. Can you grow food? I mean, look at the challenge that is going on with some of these people that we follow that are homesteaders that know what they're doing. They've been doing this for years. And like Roots and Refuge up in Arkansas, her greenhouse froze. These are people that have greenhouses and are prepared, and it froze.
Yeah, I know. What do you do with that? You have these unexpected things just hitting you like a ton of bricks. So things are changing, and it's really time that we wake up as many as possible around us. And I think, unfortunately, we always have to look at something bad that happens, but we have to see the silver lining. And the silver lining here is focusing on all those people who are waking up and who now know to use their energies and whatever they have at their disposal to help change things.
Yeah, we see global warming, my arse. Snow and cold records are falling around the world, from Greece, Japan, Libya, and meanwhile the sun is blank. But at the same time, we're going to be talking about record heat come summer, and it's going to be brutal because there will be outages. They're coming, and it's all been foretold years ago by even the government coming out and saying you got to be ready for life without the grid for 6 months. Can you handle it? Well, we're seeing how intense that is. And here we see shallow 6.1 and 6.2, and this is in southeast of the Loyalty Islands. And I think it was one of our brothers, I forget who it was, whether it was Natsaya, Mark, or Joe Free, was saying, do you think this is new land coming up? Could be. It could be.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, look at it all. It's all clustered in that one spot.
Well, also, we were talking about the forces on the crust of the earth. So things are coming, and I do know that there's always predictions all over the place. And I guess it was Maverick Star, that was saying he expects the big events, and correct me if I'm wrong, but some of you guys are saying 2 to 4 years. I think we'll have big events. I know David Devine, thinks that we might have a mud flood in 2024-ish into 2025. But we still get that the bigger things like pole shift is quite a ways out.
That's what I'm feeling, is that's definitely quite a ways out, and we should spend our time, doing other things like preparing for the more immediate future and looking at things that are directly in front of us, learning how to use our intent and our energy as a collective. Very, very important and very, very useful. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm just kind of excited because it feels like it's happening. People are starting to learn that, hey, my intent, my energy does make a difference. Maybe I don't think I have much to do, but you know what? The time that you do have, use your energy and your intent for peaceful, comfortable outcomes.
Yeah, we see Etna has been very busy, and we have another spectacular eruption over at Mount Etna. And, again, this is talking about those islands. What's really going on over there? And that gets me just thinking about that whole area at one point in time was above the surface, was actually Zealandia over that way. So, it could be that we're going back to the past in so many ways. And Casey talked about, a new Atlantis rising, basically, and also Lemuria.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on.
Meanwhile, 5.6, that was shallow in Iran, injured 43 people, cut off electricity and water. That's something we're hearing everywhere.
Yeah, electricity and water.
And so, again, I would say the most important thing is getting self-sufficient. Getting able to live, quote-unquote, off-grid, wherever you are. We've spent a lot of time in Colorado, and is it going to be tenable? Well, it depends. If you have a wood-burning stove and you have tons of wood stocked up, and you have greenhouses in place, what if it keeps getting colder and colder and colder? What if that becomes, like in northern Saskatchewan? Is it going to be tenable? And this is the big question. This is why it can get people's heads spinning about, well, where do I go? I mean, I've heard people talking, well, Florida to Texas is going to be just mud flood and all underwater. Well, maybe, but maybe not for a longer period of time. Everybody's got their own opinions, and we're watching this come out. What we've gotten from the guides is, they've told us we have a very short time to get our asses situated now. And so they've given us some clues. And so now we finally have a direction. And, you got to look at what's going on and say, can I live without AC or heat?
Yeah, that's definitely important. And everyone who thinks that they're ready or feels prepared, just get a little more prepared.
Exactly. So 2021 DG, another asteroid's going to fly by at 0.43 of a lunar distance. This is the 11th so far this month, 20th of the year. It's been really busy. Actually, there were more fireballs too, but there's just so much to talk about. Tropical storm Dujuan. Does one? I don't know.
I don't know. That's cute though.
Well, it's another storm, and it's going to be an intense storm season. This is what we were getting from the guides again today. And Cindy probably doesn't remember because she went into a full trance, and the Galactic Federation was coming through, and the way it was worded, I'm just going to say that they're already really anticipating a super hurricane season. Let's just put it like that. Anticipating, it's kind of, there are things that are in the mix. I'm trying to use certain words to let you guys know what can be coming. PLANNED. How good does AI spell?
It's learning how to spell like a 3-year-old.
Yeah, well, that's where we got to kind of go backwards and just, different anagrams. So, there's been record storms. The Philippines were hit hard. Vietnam was hit hard. We've seen so many areas totally underwater. And again, it's water everywhere. Here you got 2 inches of rain in 30 minutes. And this is in South Africa. Actually, South Africa has been getting hit really hard as well. This is global. And that's also what the guys were saying. This is global.
Right. There's nobody is going to get spared. This is something that's going to press in on all areas.
And so as Texans struggle to get food and water, record-breaking freeze is actually so cold, it's confusing weather satellites. The satellites don't know how to read it. It's so cold. That's crazy. Isn't that crazy? Now, this gentleman says, made it to the store as anticipated. Total supply chain failure. And we feel that this was trying to think of a good word for it. Well, a practice, so to speak. We should look at this as a practice run on how to prepare, because this could become the new norm. This could become the new norm, guys. And this video here, the lineup at a grocery store in Texas, it goes around and around the block and then around, and it's incredible. And then they get in there, and what's there? Well, there's not much there.
I know this is like really heartbreaking, and my heart just so bleeds for you guys there in Texas, and I'm so sorry.
You know, and we love Texas. We love all it stands for. It's got a strong history as being able to stand on its own 2 feet, being willing to stand on its own 2 feet, and sometimes that can make you. Those circles that are within circles, within circles, within circles, and then the little circle in the middle is all kind of one color.
It's like the name of that one store too. Yeah.
Oh, Target.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's always a reason for everything that we see. There's this sequential chain of events that's underway right now that's very, very huge, very huge. So I want to once again thank everybody for using your intention to envelop the country, and we'll do it in other places as needed with pure light, white light. You could also use golden energy, which is very angelic, or you could use the violet, which is of a very high vibrational frequency. And Cindy's going to give us a tune on the way out. Anybody needs to reach us for an appointment, it's EEARTS at Proton Mail or evolutionaryenergyarts at gmail.com. Thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. We couldn't do it without you guys. Make sure you are subscribed. May you guys be protected always and live up to the highest possibility for this life.
God bless and namaste.
God bless and namaste.